Everybody. It's Hank Linderman here. We're fixing things. We've got a really special day today. We've got a special guest today. You can see his picture right there. That's Levi Sanders. You probably know his dad, but we're not going to talk about his dad all that much. I think we're going to talk about just all kinds of political things. By the way, remember, please to share, because when you share, you start to get the message out. Look, Lisa's here, Barbara's here. I'm doing okay. I haven't gotten my shot yet. Bill McNichol is here, and I haven't shared yet. Let's see, am I able to share? Let's see, share. I've got to do the same thing you all do. I've got to share. We've got to do this. So look, Levi Sanders is going to be here in 10 minutes. We got a couple of other things to talk about. I've already had a couple of great conversations with Levi, and I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. We talked earlier today, and you know, who knows. So we'll just see how this goes. And anyway, I'm glad you all are here. And after I finish with you all, then I go off to get the second injection. By the way, everybody remember, please, to hit the bell. Hit the bell. That's what we need to do, is hit the bell so that you'll know that we're going live. All right. Some things to talk about. We got some stuff to talk about. Let's do it. Let's do our homework. First of all, yes, the numbers continue to drop, although our new deaths are back up again a little bit, but we know that over the weekend there's some wiggle room that goes on. And we're looking at this in terms of total cases, I believe. Let's also look in terms of, what's this? This is new cases. Look at that. New York has got a bunch of new cases. And let's also look at active cases. And you see that Kentucky is still hanging in there, unfortunately. We're seeing the cases. So look, here's what's going on. There's concern about a fourth wave coming in Europe, and New York seems to have followed Europe. So I hope that they will get that together and not have that particular problem. Let's hope. Anyway, back to some pictures real quick. As of yesterday, 72.1 million vaccinated. Starting to feel a little bit more secure, aren't we all? Compared to yesterday, 69.8, so 72.1, 69.8. I'm not that good. So 70, so like closing in on 2.2 million people being vaccinated. That's pretty great. John Pennington's here. John, you know to share. Saw John last night on a distressing presentation about the future of politics in the state of Kentucky. We'll find another time to talk about that. But John, I was upset by that meeting. I have a feeling you might have been as well. And I talked to a bunch of people who were upset about it. We're not going to take this lying down, damn it, okay? We're going to continue trying to fix things. I do have something interesting to show you, especially if you've got any friends who've been suffering from long COVID. This is a story out of the Washington Post I'm going to show to you. Some long-haul COVID-19 patients say their symptoms are subsiding after getting vaccines. Well, that's pretty cool, don't you think? I think that's real cool. Let's read about this real quick. Ariana Eisenberg endured long-haul COVID for 8 months, a recurring nightmare of soaking sweats, crushing fatigue, insomnia, brain fog, and muscle pain. But her tale has a happy ending that neither she nor current medical science can explain. 36 hours after her second shot of the coronavirus vaccine last month, her symptoms were gone and they haven't returned. I really felt back to myself, the 34-year-old said. So if you know anybody with long-haul COVID, and I've got a friend, I sent this article to him. This is at the Washington Post. It's worth having a look at it. There's another story here. Rebecca Neff, who's a 61, an information technology manager at a mortgage company. She got a fairly severe case of COVID-19 in March in Los Angeles, has been paying the price ever since. She was never tested and never hospitalized. She's experienced chronic gastrointestinal problems, shortness of breath, fatigue, and brain fog. Her hair fell out and her teeth loosened. She recently moved to Frisco, Texas. She consistently measured the oxygen level in her blood with one of those, pulse oximeter things, and found it to be 2-3 points below normal for very many months. But one of Pfizer's shots on March 8th changed all that. My head is clearer in the last week than it's been in the whole year. So even though I felt better, I didn't realize how much I was off. So I think that's great news, and that's a wonderful possibility that friends that we have who are suffering maybe don't have to suffer anymore, just if they can get that vaccine. I know a bunch of you are afraid of taking the vaccine. I'm mostly afraid of not feeling good. And tomorrow, I'm afraid that what I'm going to be saying to you all is something along these lines.
I am tired.
That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to feel like I'm tired. But hopefully I'll be okay. One more quick thing for us to look at. We're just going to talk about the headline in this case, because it's kind of self-explanatory. You know how it is? You can read the headline and go, I think I know what this story is roughly about. So here's the headline. And I believe that this is from The Guardian, but it says, reading the writing on the wall, why Wall Street is acting on the climate crisis. I have been hearing things like this, that in some states where we're seeing, no change in the use of photovoltaic solar panels for housing, they're seeing massive changes in business. Businesses are buying solar panels and using them to power their businesses. I saw something about Yemen last night, which is going through that, that terrible war that they're in, and hundreds of thousands of children are dying, and millions of people, right? 400,000 kids, they think, are, in severe danger. But as they went through the refugee camp, there were solar panels set up. Solar panels are making it into Africa. They're making it all over the world. So as soon as there's money in it, you can get Wall Street, you can get business types interested in it. I'm going to look at your comments real quick. Barbara says she's more afraid of getting the virus than the vaccine, and me too. Hildegard's here, and she shared so much. Roy is here. I'm so glad he's here. And Tom Alberts, what bell? So somewhere around here, might be up here, or somewhere down here above the comment section, there's a bell. And if you click that, you will get a notification each time we go live, so you don't have to be reminded. So anyway, this should be interesting when we talk to Levi Sanders. By the way, I got introduced to Levi from, Tom Albert says he was achy all over for a couple of days after the second shot. Pam finally got back to it today, but she's exhausted. She got her shot on Friday, and here it is Tuesday, and she finally is, kind of back in the saddle and back at it. But boy. Yeah, so Tom, that's the story on the bell. Well, should we call? I'm going to give him one more minute, because I told him that I wouldn't call until 22. But I'm so excited about it. Ariana Velasquez. Remember, we met her, the young woman from Pikeville, from Eastern Kentucky. She's the one that introduced me to Levi. And it's kind of a funny thing. We got introduced on a text from Ariana. And I said, great, I'd love to speak to you. And he said, yeah, that sounds like fun. Let's set up a time. And I waited for about 20 minutes and said, I'm just going to call him. And I called him, and he picked up the phone, and we talked for an hour. And that was a couple of weeks ago. So what the heck? Let's see if we can get a hold of Levi, okay? Let's see if this is going to work. Are we hearing anything? I'm not hearing it. Oh, there we go. might have tricked him because I called him on FaceTime audio. Oh, so we're going to try just regular call. There we go.
Hello?
I tricked you.
You did. You did. I'm like, but you said it was audio, though. So I was like, audio. It's not. I got you. All good.
Audio. Sometimes audio is better. I'm a recording engineer by trade. And so...
if you want to do that, then I probably have to go in the house because I might not be basically where with the FaceTime audio. It's going to be, I think, Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Let's just go here. I got you on the phone. That's, showbiz, man. The show must go on. I was telling everybody about how we met through Ariana Velasquez. Did I lose you? Huh. Levi, you're gone.
I'm gone?
Oh, there you are. Now you're back.
All right, this is modern technology, guys. 21st century. Who would have believed it? All right, we're good.
We're good. Well, anyway, you and I met through Ariana, and I was telling everybody that I just picked up the phone, and you foolishly answered, and we talked for about an hour.
That's right. At least.
At least, yeah. It was a lot of fun. And you are up in the woods of New Hampshire. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm in Claremont, New Hampshire. It's the middle of absolute nowhere. Yes, we are in middle of nowhere. I am probably about 5 miles away from the latest store. Lots, extraordinary amounts of snow, and that's about it. That's about what you got. A lot of very, very rural, beautiful area, but definitely very, very isolated.
Well, so New Hampshire is not exactly an urban state.
No, I would say that's a fair statement. Yes, and then I'm 8 miles away from the border in Vermont, which is even more rural. So, yes, definitely.
Wow. Well, and so first of all, one of the things I'm not sure everybody knew about you is that you ran for Congress. Did you run in 2018?
Yep, 2018. Yes, I did. I ran for Congress in 2018. That's correct.
Now, is New Hampshire Democratic? Is it mixed? Is it what's?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, right now, if you could actually, which is pretty weird. So, both the governor of New Hampshire is a Republican, as is the governor of Vermont. So you have a crazy scenario. Right now, governor in terms of the governor is very conservative in New Hampshire, as well as the legislature is extraordinarily conservative. But it ebbs and flows. So yeah, it's a weird place. It's a live free or die place, as everybody knows. Very libertarian in nature. So it's a kind of a crazy environment. But it's definitely unique, and particularly in presidential races, people get very, very excited and are very informed of what's going on. It's a very informed state when it comes politically.
Because you guys are early, aren't you, in the primary process?
Yes, we're extraordinarily early. Yes. We're like 1 and 2. Yeah, definitely between that. Yep.
Wow.
That's just pretty much. Yep.
Now, you told me that you beat your dad's record for the first time that he ran for Congress. You doubled his vote count.
Well, it's funny. So my father got 2%, then 1%, then 4%, then 8%. So he ran. So in terms of not in Congress, basically. So in governor. So he ran for governor, and then he ran for various other positions. So I always joke around that he got 2%, 1%, 4%, 8%. So the first time that I ran, I got 2%. So as long as I get better than 1%, the next time I choose to run, I'm ahead of the game. So
right. Well, and
there was 11 people in the race as well for me. So it was a very crazy dynamic in that respect. But we got a lot of good issues, and I talked about Medicare for All, tuition-free public college universities, paid equity for women, paid family and medical leave, a $15 minimum wage as well with income and wealth inequality. And a lot of my opponents took all my information. But I ran, also the other thing was important, I ran in the other district, which is pretty unprecedented. So it was a very complicated race. But it was a good experience, and I learned a lot. So,
what do you like about running for office?
Engagement. I'm all about reaching out to people and talking about people and educating people about a lot of the ideas and hearing from them about the various issues that affect their lives. So I worked in legal services for 20 years. So a lot of the work that I do in terms of just reaching out to people is things that I really enjoy doing and talking to people in terms of town halls, and I enjoy debating issues. Because at the end of the day, it's about empowerment. It's like empowering people to make their lives better. And it's very gratifying to to see that when you talk to somebody, whether a Democrat or Republican, and they can understand, like, wow, I do support a Medicare for all single payer healthcare system. I didn't understand specifically why it's so important that we get rid of the deductible and copayment and out-of-pocket expenses. So those are things that I really, really enjoy.
Well, I want to get into Medicare for All, but we have what looks to be what might be a trick question from a friend of mine. Hildegard Pyle is the chair of the Democratic Party in Breckinridge County. And Breckinridge is a very rural county, and it's one of the poorer counties in the state of Kentucky, and Kentucky's a fairly poor state. But she said, Levi, can you tell us the definition of a New Hampshire Republican?
Oh, man, that's a really tough question. Wow. A definition of a New Hampshire Republican.
Well, you don't have to answer. You can think about this. It's not a bad...
This doesn't have to be. I will take the fifth. However, I will later on make a determination later after constant study as well as analysis and interviewing many of my Republican friends. Tell her I will get back to her.
Okay, I certainly will. And she's someone you would enjoy meeting. Hildegard is, respectfully, Hildegard is a handful. She's a damn handful, and I love women that are
Well,
challenging.
I enjoy people. I always like people to push me. That's how you learn and you grow.
That's how you learn and grow, and Hildegard's an inspiration to me. So a young person named Ariana Velasquez says, "Hey guys," says hello. So hi, Ariana. Glad you're here with us.
Ariana is one of the brightest people that I've talked to. She's extremely knowledgeable. She's a great writer, great thinker. So I appreciate everything she does in Kentucky. And, I continue to want to work with her on a variety of projects, which I think will be really interested on Medicare for All, as well as just making Kentucky a much more progressive state, which I think we definitely can do.
I think we can do that. And by the way, you have come to Kentucky a couple of times, haven't you?
I have. I've gone. Yep. My father and I. Yep. We were in a lot of different areas. We hung out in Eastern Kentucky. We went to a coal mine. We did a lot of very, very interesting stuff. We listened to a lot of great country music. It was really a good time.
Might have heard some bluegrass as well.
That's right. We definitely heard some bluegrass. I know that Ariana was on the top bluegrass musicians. She definitely told me about that, as well as others. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I'm really, we had a great time just talking about, folks and their lives and a sense of connection. It was a really great time.
Well, I hope you get to come back. Well, look, let's talk about Medicare for All. And I'm going to tell you something that I ran into as a candidate when I would discuss Medicare for All or single payer, even more broadly. If people object to the term Medicare for All, really what we're looking for is a system where all of the pharmaceutical drugs, all the drugs are purchased by the nation and distributed, that we kind of manage the profitability of anyway, I would say to my Republican neighbors, what if you had health care that lowered your insurance costs, that gave you better coverage, you had longer life expectancies, and it covered everyone in the country, and it was less expensive and all these things. And they would say, well, I don't want to pay for someone else. And I'd say, no, you would pay less, and we'd already.
Right.
So do you run into that discussion or anything like
Absolutely. That's a huge issue. It's an interesting psychology. People don't understand, though. The reality is if in fact you have people that don't have health insurance who are making your sandwiches or are doing other related sick, and then they ultimately are sick, and then they in turn get you sick, that's a problem, particularly in terms of what's going on with the coronavirus and all these other issues. It's a huge issue. The biggest issue ultimately is this, though, is the fact of not understanding the psychology and the way in which that we're not doing a good job for progressives in terms of talking about Medicare for All and talking about the love of country and patriotism. And when I talk to a lot of folks, particularly in West Virginia and Kentucky, what else? When I talk about the fact, the essence of freedom, don't you think the essence of freedom is the ability to be able to leave your job that you've been in for 26 years, or you get laid off or you get fired, and still have the ability to have that health insurance that you have from that job and bring that over to another job? And they're like, yes. I'm like, well, you don't have that ability if in fact you don't have. So why is that? And they said, well, that's a great point. So when you reframe things, you talk to people, I was talking to this one interesting guy. We're talking, and all of a sudden I was like, hey, listen, man, can I talk to you? He's like, yeah, sure. I want to show you. Can I first show you your AR-15, my AR-15? I said, well, not particularly, but yeah, okay, if you want it, whatever. So after we talk about it, what he says to me, I said, listen, let me ask you a question. How much are you paying in healthcare? He said, I'm paying 60% of my income. This guy was making $11 an hour. I'm like, well, that's a problem, is it not? And he's like, yeah. He said, well, if I can show you the fact that because you are at, let's say, $29,000 a year, you won't pay a dime in terms of health care, is that something you're interested in? Sure. And I said, tuition-free public college universities. You currently have a daughter who's very, very bright. Can you afford college? He's like, no, not at all. So whatever I can show the fact that you could be tuition-free in terms of your ability to not, to be able to go to a public college university. Oh my goodness, that's a great idea. So once we talk to people, we get past the garbage that the Republicans throw at us, we have an ability to really bring in and reach out to people. We have 75 million Trump supporters. A vast majority of these people don't have very poor health care. So the point is we can bring low-income and working-class people. And we can say basically that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, everybody should be guaranteed health care to man, woman, and child.
Absolutely. And, there's another big issue that I think most Americans have gotten so used to how difficult it is to use their health care. You've got to be on the phone, you've got to be on websites, you've got to make all these horrible decisions. People in France.
Oh, Hank, I'll tell you about that. Yeah, as a February 2nd, whatever. So I was at my job for 20 years and I got laid off, whatever. And then I ultimately had, had a COBRA. Now I'm, trying to just deal with, even the Affordable Care Act. I was sitting there for 2.5 hours. I couldn't figure out how to fill out the forms correctly.
Right.
On and on and on and on. Then basically I thought I was covered. Then they said, oh no, you're not covered, and da 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 da. So everything's a major production. And you find out later that your deductible is off the chart, off the wall. So I definitely can understand and appreciate. I work in legal service. I represent people in various areas in terms of healthcare, and it's mass health is a little different program. But the vast majority of time, the most basic things that people think you take for granted is so complicated. And we can make it such a simpler process through a Medicare For All single-payer healthcare system. You give somebody a card. It reduces the administrative costs. So one of the things, obviously, when you deal with healthcare is administrative costs. That's a third of where a lot of the healthcare comes from. You get rid of all those administrative costs, you save significant amounts of money. So we have an ability to do that in a very cost-affordable way, and you're not arguing with insurance companies. Doctors are not arguing with insurance companies, and it's a very simple place, which goes to even in Canada. Even in Canada, or we go all over the world, Scandinavia. It's not a difficult thing to do.
I agree. We talked yesterday about someone who went to New Zealand, and they've got single payer there, and even visitors get covered. And she got given medicine for her. She didn't even have an accident. Their whole thing is, if you've got an accident, we'll take care of you. She just had a flare-up of her disease. They gave her a different medication. She said, oh, I'm not sure about this. The doctor said, it's going to be fine. You're going to like it. The medicine was better than what she normally got. She went back to the doc and said, tell me more about this, because I've got to get my insurance company to give this to you. He said, they won't give it to you. It costs more than what they've been giving you. So they're giving you the.
You got it.
Yeah. So this is something that going forward, I hope people will start to, even the folks that are my neighbors in Falls of Rough, that say, well, I don't want to pay for someone else. Guess what, folks? You're paying anyway. You are paying anyway.
Every time somebody goes to the emergency room, like that, your health care cost exponentially grows. So what do you think happens when people who don't have any health insurance, by definition, that gets carried over to you in terms of higher costs? I mean, it's pretty basic, but I understand a lot of people ultimately don't understand that, and it's this whole American way, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all this other issue. But the point is that we need to come together as a country. And again, we're the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And we can do this. And the simple fact is, basically, as you're talking about, we pay for it in so many different ways. And even the issue at hand, and just to go on that, we should be, in addition to that, forget about that. That's a huge issue. The issue of also education. We need to be the most educated populace in the world. We can do that. Right now, we have about 33% of the people who go to college or higher education. If we can get a lot more people, like 70 or 80% people. This is going to help our economy grow in so many ways.
Absolutely.
Which will help us out.
Bard College, right, is up in your general direction. I think
yes,
in upstate New York.
Yes.
And they did a study, I want to say in 2017, and they, at the time, the student debt was like 1.3 trillion. It's now 1.6 or 1.7.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Yep.
And they just theorized, what if we just paid this off? And it turned out to be a net positive for the economy just by doing that.
You got it.
Paying it off.
And the issue is also just level of confidence. See, the next issue we should talk about at some point, Hank, is the issue in terms of the lack of confidence people have in government. So how do we do that? Because the Republican Party wants to ostensibly say that government is impotent and it can't accomplish anything, and that's why they want to bring in private enterprise into play, and basically saying that we want to get rid of Medicare and all these other programs. Ultimately, at the end of the day, even when you look at a lot of Trump supporters say, listen, I want the government to get out of my Medicare, which obviously is a contradiction in terms. But
right.
The reality is people don't understand that. They don't understand this issue. And, it's a whole other issue in terms of how there's also wedge politics. There's a whole lot of things that are going on now, the Republican Party, because it says the Republican Party doesn't stand for anything. But the simple fact is, basically, they're able to do this. But when you look right down to it, 80% of people generally agree with most of the things that you and I talk about, Hank.
Right.
And that's the most important thing we have to do. So when we bring and reach out and we empower people and we listen to people's needs, then we have a real opportunity to really radically change this country.
I'm so glad to hear you saying that, and we are going to have other conversations, and I hope you will come back and be part of this. I mentioned
Absolutely.
to you earlier today that the Washington Post, which is not exactly, it gets accused of being left-wing, but it's pretty middle of the road, I think, the Washington Post. And they had a story today, I don't have it in front of me, but the comment was that simply dealing with police who kill black citizens is not going to be enough, that we need to rethink public safety. Well, that discussion in the Washington Post would not have happened without Black Lives Matter, without phrases, flawed phrases like defund the police. Those are too easy to misunderstand, but we wouldn't have that discussion if those groups had not come forward with those messages. And this is called moving the Overton window. The country has been moving to the right for decade after decade after decade, and Democrats for a while kind of pre-negotiated themselves. Remember Barack Obama should have insisted on $1.5 trillion in 2009, but immediately cut back just kind of voluntarily. And I think, didn't Barack Obama during the Affordable Care Act say, well, we're going to have a public option? He just gave it up without having a discussion. So there's something to be said for making an argument that maybe is a little bit extreme because it moves the discussion. I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think that's a really great point. I think, unfortunately, we are a society, and what Trump has done is he's created an alternative reality. Right. So what's happened psychologically is a lot of people don't really believe almost anything that they see anymore. Literally. I mean, you have a situation, that's a whole other discussion to have, right?
Yes.
But you have basically, people look at, we don't have time, to talk about the bias, in terms of the bias in the media, and how do we create a progressive media empire that says basically reaching out to people who are Trump supporters and progressives alike and say, listen, let's talk directly about what's going on in terms of the lives of everyday Americans. I've tried to talk with folks such as Chris Hayes or whatever about putting together and even talking for 5, 10, 15 minutes a week about issues that affect coal miners and other folks about what's going on in their lives. But from their perspective, I was told ultimately it doesn't do well in the ratings. It doesn't, which of course is totally crazy unto itself, because basically one of the things that we know very clearly is that people want to be engaged. They want to see themselves. They want to see their neighbors. They don't want to see somebody at $13 million reading a teleprompter. Who cares about that?
Right.
They want to talk about the lives and how basically people's lives. Because one of the things we're becoming a world, and it was the coronavirus, a whole other crazy dynamic where people are not able to engage because of the need to in terms of social distancing and all these other issues.
Yes.
We have to really figure out how to listen and feel. I mean, McDowell County, West Virginia, people don't haven't seen it. We should watch the town hall that my father did about what's going on in terms of health care and Medicare for All. And you have a lot of folks ultimately who are very conservative who said, I supported Medicare for All single-payer health care. So you can watch that on YouTube, and it's very interesting, and it gives you a lot of confidence and faith. And in fact, once people see what's going on, they see what's going on in their lives, they then have this connection and they feel a part of what's going on. But the problem is people are so isolated that Trump and other people are able to use terms like, oh, the Democratic Party doesn't care about you, on and on and on and on. Right. And the fact is, basically, when we can have those conversations, those uncomfortable conversations with people who are conservative, who may disagree with on this,
I don't think they need to be that uncomfortable. I don't think they need to be that uncomfortable. Okay. I had a conversation earlier today with a guy who, a music connection, and we were talking, and he said, "Oh, you're running for Congress," and he said, "Do you mind me asking if you're a Republican or a Democrat?" And I know this question. And I said, well, I'm a Democrat, but all my neighbors are Trump supporters, and they drop whatever they're doing to help me. You have to get along with your neighbors. You have to fit in.
That's a great point.
You got to fit in with your community. And I don't think that yelling at people is the answer, whether you're a Republican yelling at Democrats or a Democrat yelling at Republicans. It ultimately doesn't work. So I'm all in favor of a new progressive media source that includes, voices from all shareholders, from people.
Right. I'll let it go with this because unfortunately I would love to talk more, but I got to run to something else.
I got to run.
Here's the last thing I would say to you. We have so many followers in terms of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernard Sanders. So you have 30, 40 million folks. So we can even get 20% of those people to get very extremely engaged, and we can bring those folks together in terms of and listen to their concerns and their needs. We have a real opportunity to really create some exciting programming. We can talk about what's going on right now in Sweden, and even have conversations back and forth with children to talk about what's going on in terms of McDowell County, West Virginia, or areas of Eastern Kentucky, or whatever. About the fact is that they don't have to have the anxiety that, in fact, just because their parents or their grandparents were not able to go to college, that should be something that in other countries is actually free. They actually pay you to go to graduate school.
Right. Absolutely. Well, look,
it's not a radical thing. Yep.
I know you got to run. You're going to come back.
Yep. I will, definitely.
It's all going to be good. We're so glad that you came. And
hey,
Levi, I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
All right. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was the indomitable Levi Sanders, and passionate. Yes, indeed. Levi Sanders is passionate, and it's very interesting. All right. So I had some other things to talk about, but we're already over. So tomorrow I get my shot. I'll be here tomorrow morning, tomorrow at 3. Hopefully I'll be here tomorrow, but I really don't know if I'm going to make it. If I feel like this,
I am tired,
then I may not make it. So, okay, well, I'll do my best. Thank you all for being here. It's a privilege. It's an honor to talk with you every day, 5 days a week. And hope to see you tomorrow if I feel okay. Heading off to get my shot. Woohoo. Uh-oh. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion.
I am tired.